In today's lesson, you will learn how to solve equations involving fractions. You should be able to do this by the end of the lesson. Some previous knowledge you will require for this lesson: you should be able to solve two-step equations, you should be able to multiply fractions, and you should be able to find the lowest common multiple of two numbers. Okay, so we can see in example 1a here, we have the fraction of a half. Now, how we're going to solve this equation is we're going to try and get rid of the fractions in it. We want it to be all whole numbers. And we're going to do that by multiplying every term in that equation by the denominator of the fraction. The denominator is 2. By multiplying everything by 2, you'll see how this gets rid of the fraction. We can see that 1 over 2 means 1 divided by 2, so we have a times 2 and a divide by 2. Multiplying by 2 and dividing by 2 are the opposites of each other, so we can just cancel them away. That leaves us with 1x. We don't need to show the 1, we can just write that as x. 4 times 2, there's no fraction there to cancel down, so we just need to do 4 2's, which is 8, and 9 times 2 is 18. Now we can see that 8 is adding the x. To get rid of that, we subtract 8 from either side. That leaves me with x equals 10. In part B, our fraction is a quarter. So we want to multiply throughout by the denominator of 4. Times 4 and divide by 4 are opposites. They will cancel out. That leaves us with 1x, we don't need to show the 1. 4 3's are 12, so we've got negative 12, and 4 1's are 4. The opposite of subtracting 12 is adding 12, so we're going to add 12 to either side, which leaves me with x equals 16. Okay, in example 2, we can see that there is a numerator now as well, but we're still interested in the denominator. We're going to multiply everything by 3 here. The multiply 3 and divide 3 will cancel, leaving us this time with 2x. Minus 4 3's are 12, equals, again 4 3's are 12. Remember, we work with BODMAS backwards when solving equations, so anything adding or subtracting we want to get rid of first. There is a take away 12, so we're going to do the opposite and add 12 to either side. That leaves me with 2x equals 24. Now we look at anything dividing or multiplying the x. The 2 is multiplying the x, so we're going to do the opposite and divide each side by 2, which leaves me with x equals 12. In part B, our denominator is 8, so we want to multiply throughout by 8. Multiply by 8 and divide by 8 will cancel, leaving me with 3x. Take away 3 times 8 is 24, equals 0 times 8 is 0. The 24 is subtracting next, so we are going to add 24 to either side. That leaves me with 3x on the left hand side equals 24. 3 is multiplying the x, so we want to divide each side by 3. Which leaves me with x equals 8. In example 3, there is more than one denominator. There's a denominator of 3 and a denominator of 4. When you have different denominators in the one equation, you need to find the lowest common multiple of both of those denominators. Remember, lowest common multiple just means the smallest number that is in the 3 times table and also in the 4 times table. You might know this from the top of your head, but you might need to write your times tables out to find it, and that's absolutely fine. If I write out my times tables, I can see the lowest number that lies in the 3 and the 4 times table is 12. So I'm going to multiply everything by 12. Now look what happens here. I've got a multiply by 12 and a divide by 3. I can divide 12 by 3, which leaves me with 4. So that makes my number work a little bit easier. Now all I need to do is times the 2 by a 4. I can do the same with the other fraction. 12 is divisible by 4. 4 goes into 12 3 times, so I can change that to a times 3. And I've got no fraction to cancel down on the right hand side, so I just need to times the 1 by 12. So now I've got 2 times 4, which is 8x, plus 3 times 3 is 9 equals 1 times 12 is 12. I want to deal with the 9 first because that is adding the x, so I'm going to subtract 9 from either side, which leaves me with 8x equals 12 take away 9 gives me 3. The 8 is multiplying the x, so I'm going to divide each side by 8, which leaves me with x equals 3 over 8. I can't simplify that fraction any further, so I just leave it like so. In part B, my two denominators are 4 and 2, so I'm looking for the lowest common multiple of 4 and 2. If you go through the times tables, you can see that 4 lies in both times tables. I'm going to multiply everything by 4. Multiply by 4 and divide by 4 will cancel, leaving me with 3x plus 5 4s are 20 equals, that will leave me with times 2 since 2 goes into 4 twice. Now I've got to do 1 times 2, which is 2. The 20 is adding the x term, so I'm going to subtract 20 from either side. That leaves me with 3x equals negative 18. The 3 is multiplying the x, so I'm going to divide each side by 3, which leaves me with x equals negative divided by a positive is a negative, 18 divided by 3 is 6. So x equals negative 6. Okay, in our next example, we can see here that we have a few different fractions going on here. We've got fractions on the left-hand side, we've got fractions on the right-hand side. So what we need to do is this time we need to find the lowest common multiple of 3, 6 and 5, since that's our three denominators. You might be able to spot it, but you might want to just go up your times tables till you get to it. If you notice that if you got the times tables, you'll eventually get to 30 in all of the times tables, which means we're going to need to multiply every term by 30. So sometimes you can get quite big numbers. Now to do this, I'm going to divide the 30 down by the denominator. 3 goes into 30 10 times. 6 goes into 30 5 times. 5 goes into 30 6 times, and I've got nothing to cancel down with the 1 at the end. 10 times 1 is 10x. 5 times 1 is 5. 6 times 1 gives me 6x, plus 1 times 30 is 30. I'm now looking at equations where the x is on both sides. So I want to try and get the 6x to the other side to get it away. So I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. That leaves me with 10x minus 6x is 4x plus 5 equals 30. Now the 5 is adding the x term. I'm going to subtract 5 from either side. That leaves me with 4x equals 25. I now need to divide each side by 4, which leaves me with x equals, 4 doesn't divide into 25 without a remainder, so I'm going to write it like this. You can leave your answer like that, or to put it in a better form, you could change it into a mixed fraction. 4 goes into 25 6 times with a remainder of 1, and remember you keep the denominator the same.